I made the following presentation at the Dayton Pecha on Thursday, June 9, 2016. Pecha, a movement that started in 2003 in Tokyo, is a series of presentations consisting of 20 slides with commentary restricted to 20 seconds per slide. It's a fun and quick way to share information on a wide variety of topics. Over 200 people in Dayton watched 10 presentations that night. I love films that challenge the mind and explore important issues of society. From the thousands of films I've reviewed, I've compiled a list of over 700 dealing with social justice issues. Here are 6 that should be on your bucket list. Salt of the Earth is the only film to be banned by theater owners. Its director, Herbert Bieber, was one of the Hollywood 10, accused of being communist. It's about a miners' union strike. A court forbids the men to picket their unsafe mine, which means scabs can get through to break the strike. The miners' wives volunteer to walk the picket lines, but one man objects, "The women aren't strong enough, and who will cook and take care of the kids?" The men don't like the women's answers, but the next day the women, carrying signs, march around the mine's gate. This delightful 1954 film celebrates the dignity and power of women, as well as the union to stand up to oppression. We see how Esperanza, an underappreciated wife, learned to do this and also help her patriarchal husband to grow up. Sin Nombre involves Syra, a Honduran teenager riding on top of a freight train with her father, uncle, and many others. Hoping to escape their homeland's violence, they plan to join relatives in the U.S. After the train enters Mexico, a gang of toughs clambers aboard to rob the refugees. One of the robbers is the troubled Casper, upset because Lil Majo, his leader, has killed his, Casper's, girlfriend. When the leader tries to rape Syra, Casper intervenes and shoves Lil Majo off the train. Although her uncle and father still are suspicious of him, a friendship develops between the two young people as the train continues north. This blossoms into a romance when the two become separated from her relatives. But can it last with Casper's former friends urging other gangs all along the way to spot him and kill him? The Long Walk Home focuses on the foot soldiers and not the generals in the Montgomery bus boycott during the late 50s. Whoopi Goldberg is Odessa, who walks miles back and forth to her home, where Sissy Spacek's Miriam employs her as a maid. In church scenes, we hear but never see Martin Luther King Jr. inspiring the walkers. Slowly, naive Miriam becomes aware of her maid's hardship and the cruelty of the racist system. Her husband accepts without question. Meanwhile, Odessa and the 2 other house servants have to listen in silence to the racist comments of the husband. Miriam begins to give Odessa rides, and there's all hell to pay when her angry husband is told about this and orders her to stop. The film shows the cost to America's blacks, and even to a few whites, for standing up to, or should I say, walking against injustice. Philadelphia is a story about a lawyer fired by his bosses when they discover he has AIDS, then the scourge of the gay community. I intended to use Brokeback Mountain for this list, but decided to include this film because it shows that minds can be changed by a well-made film. When I spoke about films at a college, a young Christian student came up to thank me and said this film showed her that her church was wrong about homosexuals. Tom Hanks as Andrew Beckett opened her eyes to the humanity of gays, that they were not the demons her church had claimed. She saw also the irony in Denzel Washington's homophobic Joe Miller, who at first refused to accept Andrew's lawsuit against his former bosses. At a time when most people were still prejudiced against gays, this film dared to affirm fellow human beings who deserve to be treated with dignity. The Saint of Fort Washington stars Danny Glover as Jerry and Matt Dillon as Matthew, 2 homeless men trying to survive on the mean streets of Manhattan. They meet after the mentally disturbed Matthew is turned out of his public housing apartment because the old building is to be demolished. Jerry, suffering from his Vietnam War wounds, becomes a mentor to the naive Matthew. He shows him how to survive by washing windshields for pay, finding shelter on subway trains late at night, nursing a cup of coffee for as long as the restaurant will allow, and dealing with unfriendly cops. The film's title refers to Matthew's healing power that helps Jerry's knee pain and the arthritic hands of a shoeshiner named Spitz. It also refers to the city's Fort Washington shelter, located in a large armory. Here on some nights the two can find a bed, but it's dangerous, for there's a bully who does not like Matthew. It was hard to select a children's film for the series, so I chose one not as well known. The Iron Giant, set in Maine during the Cold War, when fear of communism and the bomb set people at each other's throats, is a story of a strange friendship between a boy and an alien robot. Young Hogarth one night sees what looks like a giant meteor falling into the woods. Venturing forth, he discovers a huge robot. Knowing how fearful adults are, he keeps his discovery secret, though because the Iron Giant must eat lots of metal, he does ask Dean if his friend can hide in his junkyard. Federal agent Kent Mansley is after the alien and comes close to setting off a nuclear explosion when he orders government forces to attack the robot. Only the boy's pleading with his friend not to fight back with his weapons avoids catastrophe. This is a great film for all ages about fear, violence, and what it is to be human. All of these films expand our horizons, calling us to enlarge our hearts and make room for those whom the powerful would exploit. These films make us aware that as humans we are all bound together. If you'd like to see reviews of these 6 films, go to the website listed on the screen. Thank you for watching.